Hi, I'm Chris in Manchester, and today I'm here to discuss with you about Tsar Nicholas II, who was the worst ruler than Emperor Nero. Now, in this presentation, you will be presented with the background on Tsar Nicholas II, who ruled Russia in 1894 to 1917, and Emperor Nero, who ruled Rome in 54 AD to 68 AD. And with this information on both of them, you will see that Tsar Nicholas II is not only worst ruler than Emperor Nero, who was the most hated emperor of Western civilization, but was also more brutal to his people. Now on the left, we got Emperor Nero. Kind of looks like he's angry or something, but on the right, we got Tsar Nicholas II. Emperor Nero was. Who is Emperor Nero? Emperor Nero, full name is Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus. He became the next in line to take over Rome when he married his stepsister, who also happened to be his cousin in 53 AD. He became emperor in 54 AD after the former emperor Claudius was poisoned. Many people believed that Emperor Claudius was poisoned by Nero's mother and Claudius' wife/niece, Agrippina the Younger, for her son so that her son can rise to power. This was the first time absolute power in the Roman Empire was vested in a mere boy who was not yet 17. At 17, you are just a naive kid who do not know anything about running a country and what it takes to handle that pressure of an entire nation on your shoulder. You're still trying to figure out yourself at that age. Now let's take a few seconds and think about this. He was 16 years old, and he got the stress of an entire nation on his shoulders. Imagine how hard that would be to rule an entire nation when you're still just a kid. Well, in his first 5 years as emperor, Nero gained a reputation for partial generosity, promoting power sharing with the Senate and ending closed-door partial trials. Although he generally pursued his own passion and left the ruling up to 3 key advisors: the Stoic philosopher Seneca, the Prophetic bearers, and ultimately his mother Agrippina. Seneca and Burrus encouraged Nero to basically betray his mother and forced her into retirement in 56 AD. And from that time into 62 AD, they basically ruled Rome in the saddles by influencing Emperor Nero's decisions. So, we're tracing everything that we just went through so far. Of the 14 years that he was emperor, for the first 8 years, he had other people ruling for him. So can we really judge him for what went on during those first 8 years? Well, I mean, technically we can, cause it was his responsibility. He was the one in power, and he let other people rule. But on the other hand, Nero was just a naive kid whose mother and mentors basically took advantage of him and manipulated him for their own personal gain. Although Nero has done a few good things in the beginning, like ban capital punishment, reduced taxes, and allowed slaves to issue complaints against the slave owners. He started to take a turn for the worse starting in 59 AD when he had an affair with his friend Atho's wife Poppaea. Now Atho happens to become the next woman emperor. And he had an affair with Atho's wife Poppaea, and he also had his mother stabbed to death because he believed that she was plotting to kill him, so that his stepbrother could take over the throne, and she could once again come back into power. Then in 62 AD, he divorced his wife Activia, and then he ordered for her death on the claims that she committed adultery, which is kind of odd because he's the one that cheated on her. Well, many people believe that Poppaea was the one who encouraged him to do those acts. Now, Nero married Poppaea in 62 AD, then in 65 AD he killed her by kicking her in the stomach while she was panicked over an argument that they was having. Many people believe that he was responsible for the Great Fire alone, although even to this day there is no proof that he had anything to do with it. In fact, it was said that he was in another place at the time. Now in this picture you can see the Great Fire alone that happened in 64 AD. Nero initiated the later Roman policy of half-hearted persecution of the Christians, in the process earning himself the reputation of the Antichrist in the early Christian traditions. In June of 68 AD, Emperor Nero stabbed himself to death because he found out that the Senate has sentenced him to be murdered the same way that a slave would happen. And talk about a heck of a punishment. Tsar Nicholas II, also known as Bloody Nicholas. Who is Emperor Tsar Nicholas II? Well, Tsar Nicholas II was the last Tsar of Russia under the Romanov rule. He ruled from 1894 to 1917. Tsar Nicholas II with his wife and his 5 kids. Nicholas II inherited the Russian throne from his father. When his father died of a kidney disease at the age of 49 on October 20th, 1894. William from the Ross and poorly trained in affairs of state, Nicholas II hardly felt up to the task of assuming his father's role. In fact, he confessed to a close friend that, "I am not prepared to be a Tsar. I never wanted to become one. I know nothing of the business of ruling," which is probably why he did so bad. In 1904, he tried to maintain and strengthen the influence of Russia in Korea, which did not sit well with Japan because they still had a foothold there, and that was one of the things that led to the Russo-Japanese War in 1904 and ended in 1905 when Russia lost to Japan. This loss frustrated Tsar Nicholas II because it ruined the vision he had of making a great Eurasian power. Because if he would have won, then he would have had control of China, Tibet, and Persia. In January of 1905, one of the most horrifying, unnecessary events took place, which earned Tsar Nicholas II the nickname Bloody Nicholas. The events for which I am referring to was when Father Gregory Gapin led his peaceful march of workers and their families carrying religious images and singing patriotic songs to the Winter Palace. However, when they reached the destination, they were met with a line of armed Cossacks who opened fire on the demonstrators. More than 200 demonstrators were killed and 500 were injured. This is the Bloody Sunday of 1905. Now, usually events like these will put the fear in citizens of that country, but it didn't. It did the opposite. It led to the revolution. It led to the 1905 revolution, which basically was, well, a lot of people went on strike, and then in 1912, after everything calmed down in 1912, miners went on strike again because no action was taken on a complaint of the quality of horse meat they was getting fed in the poor working condition, which led to another 500 people basically getting executed in the Lena Goldfield massacre. Now, between the events of World War I and the events of Bloody Sunday and the Lena Goldfield massacre, people finally had enough of Tsar Nicholas. So riots broke out in Petrograd, St. Petersburg on March 8, 1917, which caused Nicholas instructed the command to take fire and measures and send troops to restore the order. The government forced him to resign in March 8, 1917, which then they arrested Tsar Nicholas, and basically arrested his whole family, his wife and his 5 kids, and they executed him. Now that you had a background on Emperor Nero and Tsar Nicholas, also known as Bloody Nicholas, you can see that I am correct when I said that Tsar Nicholas was a worse ruler than Emperor Nero, for the simple fact that even though Nero was a naive kid who was way too young to rule Rome and had other people manipulating him, he done good for some stuff good for his people. And Tsar Nicholas basically killed his own people. He done a lot more wars for his people. Thank you. This is my paper. You have no